Software developers often work as part of a team, developing certain features of an application or maybe various methods, whether those be functions or sub-procedures. This project puts you in that environment in which you're going to take a project that's already started and available via GitHub and complete it by adding the functions and the sub-procedures that the project references. The final product allows the user to configure a laptop for SouMou computers before they purchase it, and they can change the processor, the operating system, the GPU card, the amount of RAM, how much storage they want, and what kind of warranty they would like. And as they make any of those changes, it changes the price for that configuration. If we were to go on the upper end of all of these, the maximum price is $32.20.80. The default is the low end of $6.99. Here is the project that you will take over with the interface fully developed and consists of several group boxes, each with mutually exclusive radio buttons for the processor, the operating system, the graphics processor, the RAM, the storage, and the warranty. The code has been partially developed with the update price handling changes to all of the radio buttons. So that's the only user interface handler, and the senior programmer has already written the code for that. However, it contains several methods that need to be developed, and that is your task in this application. One of those methods is the getOS, and it's been partially created for you, but you need to finish it out. It's going to return a double value, so you need to calculate the double value and return it. That'll be called in this line here. When I have large projects, I often create a punch list. What are the things I still need to do to finish off this project? And so there's a punch list here that can guide you into the 6 things you need to do. So you have 5 methods to write, and then that getOS that you need to complete. 2 of these are by reference: the update RAM price and the update price with warranty. Past values by reference, the others are by value. Here are the formal instructions available in our Canvas course site. So this application uses function and sub-procedures. You also can use GitHub to download the starting project, make the changes by completing the methods that are referenced here in the code for the event handler. I give you the storyboard as a reference as to what each of the different controls are named. And then here's the link to get the project from GitHub. I provide a punch list, and I do this for large applications just to keep track of what I need to do to finish out that application. And the nice thing, it becomes a to-do list, and as you complete those things, you can change those underscores to some X's, and you know then that you've completed all 6 of those tasks. When you test your application, here's some sample screenshots. You can use the same settings for the radio buttons and make sure you get the same price that is shown here. Let's take a look at the GitHub. Here is the SouMou computer config repository in my Hustedde GitHub account. It's public, you can access it. Click on the green code button here, and you can choose Open in Visual Studio. I'm just going to download the zip, and then I'm going to choose to access the folder, and I'll unzip it. So I'm extracting all those files. I can then open the folder and launch the SLN file. In Visual Studio, I'm going to expand the project. Here's my Form 1. Now, as I showed in the previous lesson, this little VB in front of the form1.vb file occurs oftentimes when you download a repo. The project is restricted from showing the design view of the GUI interface. And the way around that is to go into the form1 designer.vb and open that up. and just make a slight change somewhere in one of the controls. I'm going to go to my picture box name that's picture box 1. I'm going to rename that pick banner. I don't reference that anywhere in the code. It's not going to really matter. Sometimes you can just change, the size and then change it back, or change any property and then change it back. And then all you need to do is just save it. You notice the little VB went away here, and I can now double click my Form 1 and get to the Design tab, to where if I wanted to make changes to the interface, I could visually. All we need to do here, though, is code this. So I'm just going to double click on any one of the radio buttons, and there's my code. And I can now make changes to that code. You might want to go to the Build menu and choose Clean Code. And then Rebuild. And that way you're going to see these little red squigglies here for the errors. And that also gives you a nice visual clue of what needs to be done. But you have the punch list here. So our first task is create the get CPU function to return a double value reflecting the price of the selected CPU. And that's going to be this code here that's referencing that get CPU. So we're going to come down and add that function below the function that exists here for get OS. I'm going to suggest you pause the video here, do this on your own, and then come back and watch my code review and see how yours compares. Here's my finished project. I've completed all 6 of the tasks from the punch list. Didn't make any changes to the update price event handler. Here's the get OS finished out. I'm going to dim OS price as double equals if my OS equals pro, and that's what's being sent to our application here, the myOS by value. myOS is the OS version which was declared up here in our handler of dim OS version as string, and I used a ternary statement to determine whether it was pro or home based on if the radio button for OS Pro was checked or not. If it is pro, we're going to add $70 to our price, so that becomes what we're going to return as the OS price. Here is the get CPU. If RB CPU 3 is checked, we're going to return 300. If RB CPU 2 is checked, we're going to return 125. Otherwise, it's a 0, and that's the increases off the base price of $6.99. The get GPU, sort of the same thing. Here I'm going to dim GPU price as double. I'm going to use ternaries here. You could use if-else-if structure if you wanted. If RB GPU 4 is checked, we're going to add 825, otherwise it's 0. But then I'm also going to check to see if the RB GPU 3 or RB GPU 2 are checked and add 575 or 375 accordingly. If RBU 1 is checked, we've already handled that with the 0 here. There's no increase from the base price. And then return the GPU price. For the update RAM, here we're transferring the RAM amount by reference as a double value. Now that RAM amount is the RAM variable. It was declared up here, but not giving any values. This value is currently 0. But what's going to become then is a RAM amount of 345 or 185 or 0 based on which radio button for the RAM amount was checked. The get SSD. Nothing different than before. We're going to return 445 or 225 or 0 based on which radio button was checked for the storage device. That's a solid state device. That's what SSD stands for. And then finally, the update price, we're going to send my price as double. And that's being sent by reference. So up here we have a base price. The base price was calculated up here as $6.99, and then we increased it by the values of the CPU, the operating system, the GPU, the RAM, and the solid state device, storage device. And now we're going to send that base by reference to the update price with warranty. And so all we're doing here is taking that my price variable, which was the base price, and we're going to increment it by a percentage, 20%, 15%, or 10% if they chose 2, 3, or 4 years. Otherwise, if they chose just 1 year, we do nothing. And my price doesn't change. Not returning anything here. That's the advantage of doing things by reference. As we make changes to my price, that's going to make changes to our base variable, which is then going to be displayed in lblprice.text. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.